Hello everyone and welcome back to the PlayStation Plus collection for December 2021, and before I do anything else I've got to apologise for the fact that this video was a week late. It is a double-edged sword because at least it gave me a bit more time to play the games after making the initial video, but at the same time it's a week late and that's unforgivable. The reason? My laptop decided to detect an unknown error that didn't exist as soon as I was about to push save on all my notes. So, as you can imagine, I was not best pleased. But anyway, back to this Godfall Challenger Edition. Godfall originally released on the PlayStation 5 November the 12th, 2020, but on the PlayStation 4 August 10th, 2021. Because that's so close, they don't actually have a Metacritic score yet, but a user score of 3.3 out of 6, and if that is based on the Challenger Edition, I completely understand. Now I gotta say, the fact that this is a Challenger Edition just feels half-baked, and it's not the half that you actually want. For some reason, they decided to give us a game that outside of this intro mission, features no playable story mode. That is, unless you want to pay £12 to unlock the 4 realms that you have all of the story mode. What we've received here just feels like challenge missions, which completely makes sense given the name of the game, but to bump you to level 50 after beating the tutorial boss and give you massively OP weapons and just fill your skills web just seems lazy and dumb. It's literally throwing us into the deep end, and I for one find it extremely unenjoyable experience. Some of the better points I'd like to mention though, because this is a game that I've looked forward to playing ever since I saw it announced for the PlayStation 5. It's so incredibly smooth that I'm surprised it's not slid into anybody's DMs yet, because this game just has absolutely no frame rate issues and it looks gorgeous. And that being said, I've just got to wonder how good is this going to look on the PlayStation 5, because mine is currently running on a PS4 Pro 500 million edition, hashtag humblebrag. But other than that, I've got to say that the combat, the 1v1, is just so amazingly satisfying, and the shield knockbacks when, as you see, they knock projectiles back at the aliens that are shooting at you, which is a little bit strange for a fantasy game to have that. It's just all very satisfying on those points. However, I've got to say that the shield throw, the cooldown, is probably one of the worst that I have encountered in a fantasy style game. Possibly you can unlock things further on in the skills web that'll speed up the cooldown, because as I mentioned earlier, it does fill your skills web once you've completed this area, but it only fills it to the level 1 slot on each of your talents. When it comes to fighting multiple enemies, I'm going to have to suggest that you have your sensitivity set as high as possible so you can just swivel and turn as fast as possible and watch your back, because they are sneaky bastards in this game and they are going to creep up on you and it's going to hit you when you least expect it. Overall, I would give the Godfall Challenger Edition a 2.5 out of 5. I feel like if it was the other way around and we actually got the story mission instead of just all these challenger missions, this game would easily be a 4, possibly even a 5 out of 5. But the fact that they've just kind of screwed us over and done that, it just feels lazy and money grabbing. I'm probably not even going to be playing this over the course of the month, and I'm definitely not going to bother playing it multiplayer. This game had so much potential to be one of the best PlayStation Plus offerings we've had, and they've just really kind of, I don't want to swear on this channel, try to keep it family friendly, so poop to the bed is the best option to put it. This is a fantastic starting mission, and I thought I'd read it wrong at the beginning of the game, because it even says in game that the best way to play this is the locked version, and I leveled up to level 2 or 3 I think it was during this, thinking, well, this is clearly a mistake, they've got it wrong. Sadly not. I do like, though, again, the array of weapons, and you do get a lot of different armor choices, which you're probably going to be able to unlock while you're doing it as a different character. But overall, this just is not worth being on PlayStation Plus. I hate to say it, and I'm probably not even going to bother buying it when I do eventually become one of those lucky few to own a PlayStation 5, just purely because of the way they've done it. But that is just for this game. moving on to the next one, we have got the game that I was honestly expecting to be liked the least out of this month's offerings, and I'm very surprised that it wasn't, but LEGO DC Supervillains, Metacritic score 74% with a 7.0 from user ratings of 43 votes. And while originally released on October the 16th, 2018, making it the oldest game in this month's offerings, it's also the most expensive on the PlayStation Store at just under £50. Which, you know, typical LEGO fashion. It's either going to go up in value or stay the same. Anyway, onto the game. And in typical LEGO fashion, as you'd imagine, the character creating, building of it is actually massive, but still really quite fun. I managed to make one of my favourite comic book characters from Amalgam Comics, which was Darkclaw. Essentially a mashup of Batman and Wolverine, and I was really surprised to see the claws there. Which means you could possibly spend a good amount of time just looking through everything, which I did, to be honest. I spent probably about 25 minutes just mashing it all together, and then I just kind of got in a rush and wanted to play it. But I didn't play the multiplayer, but I absolutely would, even though I feel like it's going to be one of these where if both the characters go in separate directions, it's just going to go to a wide pan screen and just make it a little bit annoying to watch. But one of the best things about this is not just playing as your character. Sometimes your character isn't even in the scene that you're playing. And there's something to be said for being outside the box on that one. No pun intended. And it's just satisfying. This game is just a fun game to play. Being able to use your claws, in my case, to smash absolutely everything to shreds. Or becoming Solomon Grundy and doing his best impression of the Incredible Hulk. I'm not entirely sure who was around first, pretty sure the Hulk was. Either way, there's going to be a smashing time had here, regardless of who you play. And I'm going to say as well that you're not necessarily going to need to know a lot about the DC Comics villains or heroes. That being said, I do hope that there is going to be some obscure ones such as Quiltman or even the Condiment King, because I'm pretty sure Condiment King was available in LEGO Batman 3 with this massive roster there. I've only seen the enemies that I've unlocked in this area here, because I wasn't really planning on playing this one that much, because in the grand scheme of the month's games, I was really expecting Godfall and Mortal Shell to be the ones that I played the most. And sadly that's not going to happen for Godfall. It just kind of really did seem lazy and stupid. Anyway, with this game, I'm more than happy to give this a 3.5 out of 5, just purely because the aesthetic of the game seems that little bit more childish compared to what we got for the rest of the month. This would be more suited to maybe an Easter game instead of a Christmas game, especially with the other two offerings we had, Hack and Slash and a Hack and Slash Soulsborne Survivor type game. Just doesn't seem fitting to come along with a LEGO game. I know that there's plenty of LEGO out there that has Jurassic Park or Dinosaurs, Knights, Spaceman, but it doesn't really, you wouldn't play with LEGO while watching It Chapter 2 or The Shining, so it doesn't really fit in. Plus the fact that the game is 3 years old and they're still asking £50 for it, I have to say it's a very LEGO move, because as I said earlier, LEGO doesn't really depreciate. It just goes up in value or stays the same. Now, I've got to say about this game, it does have quite satisfying mechanics, such as you can see, switching between the people that you're with on screen, being able to control them all. I imagine with the multiplayer, it's going to be a bit of an issue. Are you going to be able to play as the other player's character? That would be quite fun. And this has also got some decent puzzle elements to it. As you can see in a second, as playing as Lex Luthor, which is, I'd say he's more iconic than the Joker. He's probably been around longer. It works. These games are made, designed and perfect just purely because the established property that is LEGO. And if, like me, you never had LEGO growing up as a child, this really isn't going to fill that gap, because you're going to probably be about as creative and imaginative and good at building things with LEGO as I am, which I can make like a potato spaceship, or maybe even just a potato shaped gun. But that doesn't matter, the game's here to enjoy, and I'm probably not going to play this one over the course of the month either, purely because I've got Kingdoms of Amalur still going. I'm about 30 odd hours in, and still refusing to do the missions. And I really want to just complete that so I can focus solely on Mortal Shell, because as you're going to see in a second, this game is easily the standout game of this month, and I was very, very sure it was going to be Godfall because, well, one, it's a beautiful looking game, plays smooth as hell. This, as you'd expect, it plays quite well, but Mortal Shell, 76% score on Metacritic from 32 reviews with a 7.0 user rating from 179 players. This is the one that I knew the least about going into, so much so that when I done my announcement video last month, I had to look it up on its own website, and I only really discovered that it's a Soulsborne-esque video game. It's also one of the shortest videos on this here, but with my upload being late, it was the one I played the most outside of recording. I've only played one other Soulsborne game, which was Bloodborne, and I really didn't get that far in that. I kind of gave up straight away because I didn't understand it. But I absolutely love this game. I may die a lot, which is very true, and I definitely have to get good, but I really enjoyed it. The combat is challenging but rewarding and feels like an accomplishment after killing a few enemies, even when they're in a crowd, even when you're just fighting 1v1 one of the big buggers who just comes running after you and chasing you. But I do like the fact that once you get knocked out of your shell, you can climb back in it, and it gives you all of your health and stamina back, which, you know, I thought as soon as I got knocked out, I was rushing, trying to get into it, and yeah, panic, because this game creates stress as you play it. Now, I do have to say, one of my favourite things about this game, and I imagine also Rob from Access PlayStation, is just the water graphics. I know it doesn't splash well, but the water reacts fantastically. One thing I really didn't like about this game, you just saw a massive jump there, because there's a huge tunnel that rivals Metal Gear Solid 3 for climbing. It just seemed slow and dreary, which I imagine matches the aesthetic of this game perfectly. Now, finding the mortal shells, you inhabit them, jump into them, and it gives you armor. It's basically like a Mega Mushroom from Super Mario, because as soon as you get knocked out, yeah, you've probably got one hit left in you, so you can either run away and hope that the enemies are going to abandon your shell and you can get back into it, or you can kill them all in a flurry of hatred and pain. Which, you're going to die more often than not if you try that. But, here's one little tidbit of information for you. If you have anything equipped into your inventory, use left, right on the D-pad to switch between them and up to use it, because I was confused as hell. I went into the menu 10 times to play the simple loot, and it wasn't fun. It was tedious. That was probably the worst part of the game. Never mind the fact I died about 8 times before finally giving up. That being said, I do have to give this game a 4.0. Steady 4, easy 4, absolute 4 out of 5. And I really think everyone's going to enjoy this, even if it's only for a couple of games. I do suggest playing it on your own, because it's going to create a lot less stress, and you're going to make less mistakes like that, because it's going to be distractions. People are going to talk to you, and they're just going to, yeah, people are people. And this is a fantastic Christmas game, because you can just challenge each other to see how far you can get on the map, which is surprisingly big. So, all in all, this game is the crowning achievement of the month. So, if you've enjoyed, please like, share, and consider subscribing. Merry Christmas. I'll be back before Christmas, but until then, have a good one, and thanks for watching.